We got the 2/3 vote to remove George Santos. We've expelled him, and it was it was a solemn day. I mean, he deserved it. He deserved to be removed. I voted for the expulsion, but at the end of the day, it is a sad stain on the institution, and it was important that we had to remove him so his constituents can elect somebody new, somebody they can trust and have a relationship with. The reality is George Santos had lost the trust of his colleagues, his constituents. And the bottom line here is we asked the Ethics Committee at the beginning of this year to do a thorough investigation, and they had issued 38 different subpoenas, interviewed 40 individual witnesses. They reviewed 170,000 pages of documents, and they were able to produce the evidence to the members that warrants his expulsion. I mean, he used campaign money on everything from luxury items to Botox. He even created fictitious loans, and then he used campaign donors' money to reimburse himself for those fictitious loans. We even had a colleague, Max Miller, one of our colleagues here in Congress, who said that he even used his and his mother's credit card to make unapproved purchases or donations. And so it is really troubling and disturbing that we had this con artist sitting in Congress with us. And quite frankly, it's been a distraction this entire year. So I'm relieved to see that he will no longer be in this institution, and I'm hopeful that we will have a special election very soon. As you know, the governor does need to call a special election within 10 days. And the people of the 3rd Congressional District in New York, which is a piece of Queens and Nassau County, will be able to elect someone that they can trust.
Yeah, Congresswoman, maybe if you can just elaborate there, tell us, what is a special election? How does that play out from here? What kind of timeline? Who would, elect that kind of a person? Just give us a little bit of the lay of the land, how we proceed from here.
So following the expulsion, there will be a formal notification to the governor of the state of New York. The governor then has 10 days to set a special election, and then it would most likely be in February. And at that point, the people of New York's 3rd District will be able to elect someone new. And that's how the process will play out. So that seat will be vacant for a couple of months.
So, Congresswoman, will this help or hinder the GOP in terms of keeping the House?
Well, I don't think that we could have based our decision on that. We have to do what is right. In this case, he needed to be removed. But what I do believe is that the Nassau County organization, led by Chairman Joe Cairo, is one of the best in the country, and they have flipped because, by the way, not just because they're the best in the country, but because the Democrats' policies in New York are just so ridiculous, right? They've created a crisis, whether it's public safety, migrant crisis. The Democrats' policies have done that. And because of that messaging that Republicans are right on policy, they've been able to flip not just these congressional seats, but they've been able to flip the county executive. You have Bruce Blakeman there is doing a great job. You also have a Republican district attorney now, county legislature. They were able to flip all of that because not only are they a strong organization, but because the Democrats in New York have done such a bad job and are driving the city and the state into the ground. So with that said, I still believe that Republicans can hold onto that seat in a special election. But at the end of the day, it's up to the voters. The voters get to choose who they want. The bigger challenge for Republicans is that our governor is trying to redraw congressional maps again. She is trying to tilt the scale once again after we had an independent master last year draw our maps, and we won these 4 seats. So that corrupt activity that we're seeing from the Democrats trying to tilt the scale and redraw these maps to give themselves an advantage is more what jeopardizes the Republican majority in Washington.
Do you have a candidate that you would like to see run?
I do not have a candidate. That is for the county organizations to determine. Hopefully, they're going to be doing their due diligence now, and I know that they will. They'll be making sure that they have background checks and that they're going
to.
They
don't have the greatest track record. Let's be honest.
Well, that's why I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. We've gotten their word now that they will be doing that, and so we could prevent this in the future. But look, I think it is important for people to understand that whether it's a Republican or Democrat, we needed to move to redo this. The last 5 expulsions, by the way, were all Democrats in our history. This is the first time a Republican has been expelled from the House of Representatives in the history of the United States.
Equal opportunity, I guess.
So, Congresswoman, you did list a whole bit of evidence that the Ethics Committee had compiled in supporting the expulsion of George Santos, but a lot of what the House members who elected to not expel him, what they were hung up upon was that he wasn't actually convicted of anything yet, that is. But, I mean, do you think that this potentially could set a dangerous precedent here, that if people's, skeletons come out of the closet and, you maybe you just don't like how somebody's voted, that their seat could be in jeopardy?
Well, first of all, he will have his day in court as it relates to responding to those 23 criminal charges, and that will determine whether he goes to jail, okay? But as it relates to remaining in this institution, we referred it to the Ethics Committee, and they did their investigation, was able to produce the evidence that showed that he took from his campaign donations and used them for personal gain and enrichment, and that was just inappropriate and warrants his removal from the institution.
Congresswoman, as I understand it, the Republicans have a 4-seat majority in the House, so that will go to 3. Practically, what does that mean for getting legislation through from your perspective?
Look, whether it was 4 or 3, it was still difficult, right? I mean, it is not easy when you have such a slim majority. We're trying to, reconcile the differences and see where we can find that common ground to move things forward. Despite having the slim majority, we've been able to pass a good number of these appropriation bills to fund the government. The Senate has done 0, by the way, so they have a slim majority there, too. I think it's by a margin of 1. So it makes governing difficult,
yep.
which really actually begs for more bipartisanship. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes the extremes try to upset the apple cart. We see more bipartisanship, more common ground and common sense policy moving forward. And so we have to work with what we have, and we continue to push for the things that we believe in, which is we want secure borders. We want to support our law enforcement. We want to address this crisis of energy independence. We need more energy production, not less, like the president says. And we need to make sure that we are addressing our fiscal issues. And that means we need to spend less money and be more responsible. And so that's what we're going to continue to push with that agenda. And we hope some Democrats do join us because those are the right things that the American people want to see. They want to see inflation reduced, energy affordable, borders being secured, the migrant crisis ending in New York City. It would be great if Senator Schumer passes our legislation that would do these things because we've passed them already out of the House.